Old business, item A, discussion by council vote or other action on update by Municipal Building Review Task Force. Item 1, discussion by council vote or other action to increase the Emergency Operations Center communication tower height by 20 feet, optimize communication capability in disaster conditions. Authorization for signature. I'll turn this over to Mr. Wazowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the process of culminating the work as authorized by the council, we had additional discussions about this tower and the optimum cost and height circumstances. And this is just a simple circumstance of realizing that, you know what, we should do this. The cupola on the existing building, we haven't sent a surveyor out, but every indication is that it's about 65 feet above grade. And you know, that and any other neighboring structures at height can be an obstruction to the radio wave. We simply asked the antenna provider for consideration. We could have gone through a circumstance of getting a crane out to be able to, you know, put antennas up temporarily and then run a test to see what we did, what could happen. The conclusion was that the addition of 80 feet will not overwhelm the site, and the additional cost seemed practical for making sure that as we establish this emergency operations center, that we give it the best opportunity for communication that we can. And frankly, you know, we do so many things that's good enough. It's not good enough. We're going as high as we reasonably can for the neighborhood, and will benefit from that height without overwhelming the site. I encourage your consideration and authorization that we add this height and go forward.
For the recommendation of the administrator, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, further discussion? Sure, I'll make a motion for discussion, absolutely.
Motion to approve the change order, is there a second?
Motion for discussion. It's a difference. Motion for discussion.
Why should we follow it?
I'll second the motion for discussion.
I third it.
All right, so on the agenda, discussion by council vote or other action to increase the emergency operations center communication tower by 20 feet. What is it currently called for? What is the tower height currently called for?
The proposal that had been previously approved by the council was 60 feet.
60 feet, so we're going to 80 feet, I would imagine another 20, right, correct?
Yep.
And the town does not have to abide by zoning rules and regulations. We're exempt from that. I'm all about communication, make no mistake about it. Has Colonel Branconia weighed in on this? Do we have what's Colonel? You here, Colonel? Hi, Colonel. What do you need for a tower? Sorry, I couldn't see you behind the podium. It was locked.
I'm Peter Branconia, the Homeland Security Director. There had been two proposals given to us, 60 and 80. The whole problem is what we call wind loading. The tower antennas have to be stacked at certain heights. The number that we have, which is 10, would not work at 60 feet. So the recommendation by the Industrial Communications was to go to 80 feet to allow us to stack the antennas that have to have a certain distance between. Plus the optimum fact is, if you think at Bushy School, we're on the north side of Woonsocket Hill. It's a straight shot at the province of Cranston. If you look at Kendall Dean, we're behind the hill. There is a kind of a delay to getting the signal into province of Cranston. So by going 80 feet, we accomplished the cupola, which was discussed. plus the fact that it'll optimize communication. Some of the equipment is repeaters, which is located at the Maury Fire Tower, but a lot of it is direct. And the higher we go, the better the signal's going to be. We have to cover the whole town, and as you know, we're not flat. We've got a lot of hills in between where we are. So I would recommend 80 feet. I know it's a little bit more money, but as time goes on, we're also discussing with the state possibly getting them to come up on the tower. And we would have some federal funding to offset a lot of the costs, which we already have. We have several grants already for the Kendall D Emergency Center.
Colonel, federal grant money was used to put the tower at the annex, is that correct?
The tower, which is presently there now for emergency management, not the cell phone tower.
Yes.
There's two towers.
There's different revenue coming in, I get it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's not my purview.
Thank you, Colonel, I appreciate it. Mr. President, looking for a motion to approve the operations communication tower height by 20 feet.
I am.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Lewinsky, second by Mrs. O'Hara. Any other discussion?
Yes, I don't have it in front of me. What was the cost on the 60-foot?
40,000 and change, $40,600, something like that.
Good question.
So I have a question then. So this 52 is additional to that 40? So we're talking about like 90-ish thousand for the tower? I'm fine with
Place of it.
Yeah. Was it, like, because we approved the original one, right? So is
It's
this,
an additional $12,000 for
Okay.
the,
because I thought 52 here, so I was thinking this.
And just for the record, the task force hasn't read it on this.
Has not?
They have not, because it has nothing to do with the building. It's outside of the scope of the building process. We got involved with the original tower. We made the recommendation based on a quote that came from Mr. Branconia that he gave to us after we started reviewing it on the site with the contractor. Mr. Zossi got involved with Mr. Branconia looking for the additional height.
It's public safety, Mr. President, I'm all in
I
favor.
understand that. Not
All in favor.
not against it. That's why it's in front of you. Any other discussion?
Where is this being placed?
to be on the right rear corner of the main building, on the back side of the building.
Okay.
So you know, the base of the tower, or the first 50 feet of the tower will be as hidden as it possibly can. And it will extend above the building.
And there's a residential home on that side?
Yes.
200 feet away.
It's public safety.
Well buffered by existing trees, substantial.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Barnoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Rozier?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadenais?
Yes. Item 2, discussion by council vote or other action in regards to Pierce Atwood LLP services. If you guys remember, back in August, we hired Pierce Atwood LLP to provide legal counsel to the task force with an amount not to exceed $10,000. I'm here to let you know that we've approached that amount, and we would be requesting additional funds, possibly another $10,000 to continue with their services.
How come we're already at the 10?
Excuse me?
If we weren't supposed to go over the 10, what is causing it to go over the 10? We'll come close to.
Time and expense.
So I would rather know how much we're anticipating the cost to be instead of just incrementally increasing it by 10, incrementally increasing it by 10. I mean, do we know if the next 10 is the final number, or could it be another 20 or 30K on top of all this?
We don't know. We're paying them on an hourly rate on the retainer.
I guess then the question comes, when do we anticipate this project to be complete? Because we're only keeping him on retainer through the completion of the project, correct?
I would think that we want to keep them on retainer until not completion of the project, completion of the services that are necessary.
So again, that comes back to
The project could be completed, and there were still outstanding issues that need legal services.
But I guess the question then is, when do those things expire, right? Because it it's not like they can run forever and a day. They must say like, as of 6 months from completion of the date of the contract, you no longer can go after any types of money or anything like that. So that, I'm just trying to figure out when is the end date to determine what is the reasonable amount that we may need to approve.
I can't answer that question.
I just don't feel comfortable blindly approving amount of money. I've made that clear multiple times. I just don't, I get that we may need legal representation, but I think it's foolish on our part to just be approving without knowing and just say, oh, we're going to approve, and then it just sounds like we're approving 10, but really we approved 20 now, on top of a project that's already delayed.
Mr. President, if I may. Councilman Ogier, is that a motion? Are we in discussion? I need to know for the record what we're doing here. We're discussing?
I don't feel comfortable approving it, so if you want, I'll make a motion not to approve.
A motion to discuss.
Oh, yeah, a motion to discuss.
Second. Discussion. Where are we? Are we at 70, 80, 90% complete? Where are we on this project, this ongoing project? I get it, we've got some very, very talented people in town. I'm not gonna, geez, these people forgot more than I know. Where are we on this project?
85% complete?
85% complete. And we've hired outside legal advice. I'm going to paraphrase what Mr. Oshia said, but we're hemorrhaging money here. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I would disagree with that statement, but
We're hemorrhaging?
the task force came before the council, told you what the issues were, sought your advice and consent to hire Pierce Atwood to represent us. And you agreed
We did.
at the time, and you put a not to exceed number on it, that we got to review, go back and review, and we got to that level.
Right.
We got to that level, and I'm back here reviewing it, and I'm telling you that there are still legal issues that are pending. If this council chooses not to continue to retain Pierce Atwood, then I would just, my advice would be then, the solicitor needs to pick this stuff up. And to be honest with you, no disrespect to the solicitor, this is not what his expertise is. So that was why we sought out another firm. Originally, the previous council hired legal counsel to represent the task force. Unfortunately, he was conflicted because he represented both parties. So he had to bow out of it. So both sides had to get separate attorneys to represent them in this case. There were multiple issues that haven't been resolved back from that date in August. And I'm not going to go into them because the legal issues and its potential litigation. So I'm not going to get into the details of it. If you want to get into the details of it, I'll put it on the next council agenda. And if this council chooses to continue to hire Pierce Atwood, then I'll invite him to come. And he can explain all of the issues to you so that maybe you'll understand them better. But there are a lot of issues out there that need to be resolved. Not only, it has nothing to do with the completion of the project. It's to make sure that the town is protected in this project.
Ms. Vadenais, I think we should do that at this point so that we know where we stand, and everyone here will, I think, understand things a lot better. I don't want to be without legal counsel at any time, but at the same time, we should know what we have to increase and why we have to increase.
Mr. President, if I may, follow up on Council O'Hara's comments. Can we schedule this for executive session so we can discuss it, because it is legal?
It would be an executive session, but if we don't extend this contract, you lost the services. The services are completed at this stage.
Well, Mr. President, I have a question for you. Do we need to say we're giving you a $10,000 retainer to extend this contract? Or we just can't say he can't wait for us to say we need to meet in 2 weeks. He's that quick to walk off. I mean, how close are we to the 10K?
You're over it.
Well, you first said that we were approaching it, and now you're saying we're over it. So what is it? Are we over it?
You're over it.
And by how much?
We can't.
I don't know how much.
So my point was that for me to approve something, I need to know what it would be that we would approve. I don't think anyone in this world is willing to write a blank check unless you have the funds to do it and feel okay doing it. I don't think anyone, a prudent person, would do that. So I agree that I think we should discuss it further to know what obligations we're committing ourselves to. And I agree, I think you need legal representation, but I think we need to know how much the all-in cost is or try to get us close to that instead of 10K here, 10K there, 5 here, 5 there. That was my point. So I support talking about it exactly, but I just can't prove not knowing.
Mr. President, if I may, ask the town solicitor to reach out to this legal advisor that we have. If I may, Mr. President, is that okay?
It's fine. I just want you to be aware, there are issues that are pending right now. I will notify legal counsel tomorrow, or the solicitor can notify legal counsel tomorrow that the town is engaged in services. The services are no longer being paid for, and he will stop servicing. There are ongoing issues that he's ready to discuss, and issues to discuss that are pending, that we need to continue services. And without having any more money put into this thing, his contract is not extended.
Well, Mr. President, personally, I find this like push to get this approved tonight as kind of another example of poor planning. We should have been tracking the cost to close to $10,000. When we started to approach the $10,000, we should have placed it on the agenda and said, hey, look, council, we're at 6K, we're at 8K. Based on the pending litigation that's coming across, we're going to exceed the 10K. Can we go over this, or can we approve funds there? To be now saying that we're past 10K and that we have to approve it or else the town's putting itself at risk. I don't think that's our problem. That's the task force's problem for not coming forward sooner. So, I made my point clear.
May I wouldn't say it's not our problem and it's the task force's problem. I think it's a townwide problem, and if we delay this, does this also put a delay on the construction?
No,
Mr. President, through
it
you.
will put a delay in processes that need to continue to make sure that construction proceeds properly.
Mr. President, through you to Council President Vadenais. It's our problem.
It's our problem,
It's
yes.
our problem.
It's not the task.
I misspoke. It is our problem because it wasn't. How many times have we sat up here?
I was going to say,
Right.
I know it's passion. I got
No, but how many times have we sat up here in the last couple meetings and there has been no updates from the Municipal Building Task Force? My point is that yes, it becomes our problem, but we should have known about it sooner so that we could have made an informed decision instead of saying, well, we need to approve another 10K. Well, is it really 10K or is it 20K? You know, that my point is just trying to get as accurate as spending as possible so that we're not all of a sudden, yes, it is our problem. But
Council Ozier, I hope you don't take offense.
no, I don't take anything personal. Okay, don't worry about it.
I say stuff and I go out there. I get it. We're passionate. Otherwise, we're going to run for office. I'd like to continue this. I'm going to make a motion to continue this and discuss it in an executive session because this is taxpayer dollars. And quite honestly, if the law firm of Pierce and Atwood Limited LLP Services wishes to pull the plug on us, so be it. So be it. I'm not happy with allocating more funds to this until I know what's going on. Because Mr. Oshie, you're right, it was not on our agenda. We have no idea where we are with this. And thank you for speaking candidly. Mr. President, I'd like a motion to continue this. If I'm allowed to make this motion at this time, Mr. President? This motion to continue with executive session because it has to do with legal expertise. Mr. President?
Well, with all due respect, let's get a second on that motion. There's a motion to continue this agenda item to the 18th under executive session. Second, Mr. Ogier, under discussion. This is not properly in executive session. This is where this action took place. It's an open session. This item of hiring an attorney is an open session. There's nothing that lets us go into executive session to discuss this. That's why it's here right now, and not in executive session under the thing. I became aware that we exceeded the cap 3 days ago, because in the last week, the hours have ramped up because we've had issues. That's why we got to that point. We were doing okay, and an issue came up again, which takes time. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot. 5 hours of time is $1,000. It was agreed by this council to set a limit of 10,000, and when we got to that, we would review it. That's where we are now. But it's not proper to go into executive session to discuss hiring an attorney.
But the hiring the only reason we need the attorney is because of the litigation. Primarily, what it sounds like to me is that we are approving the funds for the litigation.
Continuance.
Continuing, yeah. So,
Yes.
Mr. Solicitor.
With regard to the potential litigation that's causing the bill, that should be on executive session.
Yes, and that was my
And
motion.
that can go on executive session, whatever the next date is,
The 18th.
the 18th. This should also be placed on the agenda again, and I would like for approval, and I would just like the council to give me the latitude to, obviously I'm going to speak to the attorney as directed by the council, but I don't know what the number is, but I'd like some latitude to be able to get some report from him, to report to the council, and be able to at least assure to him that I can get compensation for that report. Because we don't want to bring him here necessarily.
And pay him X amount of dollars per hour.
Right.
So as long as I can get a status to present to the council, then I'll be happy to do that. But they may say, well, you at least pay me for the status report. It's either he's going to come and we pay him, or I get a status report. Just tell me what you want. That's all I'm asking. Separate apart from whether you're going to increase.
Can I make a motion
budget.
that you take this latitude?
There's already a motion and a second. We're in discussion right now. And my point to the solicitor is,